Hi, I'm out here at the end of Osport. That's a barn, called a bar and grill. Right there, forget its name. We don't go to it. Their menu seems fancy and full of fish. Plus we have other ones closer by. Anyways, not the point of this video. So I've had a grandiose time to think. Because it's been, let's see, my injury, Arnhem game, practice. It's been 2 weeks. So I was counting the actual Sunday and then the game and then the Sunday, so that's 3, but there's 2 gaps. So there's 2 weeks plus this week. As of this next Sunday, it will have been 3 weeks since my injury. And we are at, are we even at 10 days from my surgery? Today, 19th? Really? So yeah, we are at 10 days from my surgery. In case you guys are wondering. Probably the last of the bandages we're going to be putting on this thing. Hopefully a surface wound is a little bit better at being healed. At least hopefully, I'm not that old. Hi, trains. I'm right next to a train track. Anyways, so I have probably a longer recovery than I would like ahead of me. So does my shoulder buddy. What sucks is that if I feel like I left off the season, Almira, the game, in a really crappy position. It was only, it's like, in terms of the preseason games, I wasn't messing up that much. It was actually, part of the thing. But then in 2 games, it was like, I didn't really feel like I contributed much. And then, boom, this thing happens. So I got sent into, a classic downward spiral, let alone an injury and feeling useless on top of that, that everybody gets. And I didn't feel like I was useful before. And I had to have a conversation with Aaron that it was like, there was nothing indicative of what happened 2 games in a row. I've literally never seen a swan do that. That was so loud. But anyways, yeah. So that's what sent me down kind of that depression spiral, and that video, you guys want to watch that video, because I really was afraid, because how it seemed like things worked in the States, and I had to have a serious talk with one of my German friends about this, because he's been playing in southern Germany for years now, 8 years, and he understands that the European system works a little bit differently, especially for non-import players. Things work a little differently with how they just generally treat you as a player than people in the States. I had to get that bit out of the way. But yeah, I was afraid that I hadn't really proven myself as game worthy. I'd proven myself as, I guess in the past, at least with the pit bulls, I was scrimmage worthy. When the game really didn't matter, when it really wasn't, it didn't affect much of anything, and that it was like, only put me in when it was absolutely direly necessary. And it worked that way on the States a lot, and I don't know why, and anybody from back then enlighten me if they happen to know, but at least for all the many times I talked with Willie, even he didn't know why. It made just no logical sense, and since it made no logical sense, I started coming up with illogical reasons. Well, maybe I'm not that good. Maybe I can't do this fake it till you make it, which I still don't like that term. It's basically, in an extreme fashion, what it says to me is, weave a web of falsehood until you get what you want, and pray it doesn't collapse under the slightest weight. Whereas the way I would think about doing things is very different. Anyways, sitting here in the heat is getting to me. Because I'm sitting in direct sunlight. And so yeah, I had like a week of not doing anything where I felt useless because I had already kind of been feeling useless before. It wasn't spawned out of nowhere. Oh, work for care. Anyways, it had no basis. But again, it had no basis here because it is a different style system. It's not a different game, but they tend to, because so many sports are amateur, and especially, yeah, maybe for soccer it's a little different. Maybe. Because you can eventually be at some semblance of a professional level, but this sport, no. Not here in the Netherlands. So people treat you as, friend and family because you're all equal. Anyways, that was kind of a tangent. And so basically what my brain was doing is it was correlating events, as Timothy said, not taking into account a fundamental difference. It's sort of like, well, it's exactly like speaking another language. You can't necessarily take the sarcasm and the humor that you would from your original language, despite the fact that people say the exact same words, because, well, the words aren't necessarily the same order. They don't necessarily mean the same thing within their head. Like German and Dutch, a lot of their verbs come at the very end, so you don't really know quite what's happening until the very end of the sentence. And to be fair, for native speakers, and for people who are ridiculously fluent, they just sort of hear the whole sentence. But like with English, you can kind of listen to the first part and ignore the second half. It gets a lot of people in trouble. I mean, you should always listen to the full sentence, but that's neither here nor there. And so as I saw things going down, that I was busy in practice, I was useful in the scrimmages, because not many people were showing up, because at least back at semi-pro, nobody really came to practices unless it was game day, and then the coaches really tried to give the people who actually came to practices an actual thing, an actual playtime, but then they were like, no, I got to play the favorites. And so there was not a lot of things I understood, because I was literally looking at like the shape of everything as it was unfolding, and I saw a pattern emerging again. But as Timothy said, I wasn't taking into account that there's a fundamental difference. And that also I had a very small sample size. I was looking at like 4 years of semi-pro back in the States versus not even a year here. 2 actual games. Out of a total of, well, minimum 10. And who knows, it probably would have been completely different at Arnhem. I probably would have had one hell of a game, just like I did at Antwerp. And it all would have been moot. 2 weeks after the fact. But I don't know. And that was part of the issue. I don't know now, because that future is blocked to me. To be fair, it's already in the past, so it's blocked otherwise. And that was another thing that got to me during my injury. It was that future of knowing what would be different was blocked. And yeah, I get plugged up in a lot of what ifs. Finally, to the meat of this video is that I know a lot of people that play amateur ball, whether it be semi-pro or just, back in the States, or here where pretty much everything is semi-pro. And I know that like rookies, which, bye-bye rookie season, gotta, Dallas, Christ! The Frenchie-Belgium train is screeching to a halt, slowly. They got, people come. I've even seen it so far with the Hurricanes. We've had a couple people come to practice and get banged around a little bit. Oh, I'm trying this out, banged around, and they never come back. Oh, I tried it, that's cool. Or they come to a couple practices and then maybe, twist their ankle or something. And then and I've heard of the stories from other people in the team where they've had people that get like then a major injury, even in like a game or something, and they just like disappear. Like they just never heard of the person ever since. They just disappeared into the wind. And I'm not going to be doing that. I don't do that. I mean, I've only ever done that once in real life, recently. That was a lot of There's a lot of qualifications there. But basically, when I moved here, I basically ghosted everybody back in the States because I didn't want to. I didn't want to like fret with like the fake friends coming and saying, "Oh, we gotta go, we gotta do this. Oh, we gotta spend time with." I'm like, I don't have time for this. I have a month and a half to get rid of an entire apartment and then figure out how to move myself. Like, I don't have time for your, for fake friends. So I basically stopped and ghosted everyone, and then, yeah, but and that was for a fucking reason. This I'm not going to be. Like, the fact that Sunday I got injured and wasn't able to go back that Thursday to practice and at least stand there because I was way high on pain meds. I was not safe to leave the apartment without assistance. I mean, it tore me up that I wasn't able to go to that practice. I wasn't able to go to the game that next week because, I was not. And everyone's like, it's okay, we understand. And I'm just like, it doesn't feel like, to me in my head, it doesn't feel like people understand because they haven't really dealt with me. That they're busy dealing with the people that they've known in the past. And they're like, oh, we understand you're injured. And maybe it's the fact that I just don't understand socializing. That's also a thing. It's hard. I've had a lot of instances in my past where it's hard to believe the word, and I believe the actions. As they say, actions speak louder than words. Well, it's really hard to get actions to lie, which I kind of understand is the actions speak louder than words. That's that. I'm not going to be every practice that I've missed, even if it was pointless for me to go, has been torture. And everyone says, focus on recovery. And I'm like, I don't know how to focus on recovery. There's only so much to do with recovery. Right now, it's basically sit around and try not to, lift heavy things or, go to the gym and exert myself way too much because, and it seems like focusing on recovery, I have too busy of a brain to only focus on recovery, and that's what sucks. I don't do one thing, and maybe that's what people have said in the past, focus on recovery, and, at least back in the past, when people have said focus on recovery, when I've had other injuries, it's just sort of like, you're not missed, so you do you, away from us. And that's basically how I interpreted it a lot, and it's not like people in the past dispelled that rumor. Whether or not things in the past have been true, or that's just how I've made things up, whatever. It's going to be hard to get rid of me. I mean, even on a video game, it's hard to get rid of me. I am persistent, and I'm coming back to practices, and the moment a doctor, I won't even get a second opinion. Second opinions are just like, you want to try to dispel the first one because you don't like their news. If one doctor says, oh yeah, you can go back to cardio, then I'm going to be doing what I was doing at practice that one time. I won't take pads or helmet. I'll bring cleats, and I'll do the step overs. And I'm definitely going to avoid any contact, even with people on their hands, because, but I do feel useless, and with recent news, seems like the Hurricanes are taking blow after blow. It's sort of like I can't do anything to help the team fight because I'm one of those blows. Before, back in the States, I'd look at immigration reform and see how people reacted to immigrants and look at them from a citizen's point of view and look at the person voting against immigrants and all that jazz and say, hey, what are you doing? Now I'm sitting here and I see people post on Facebook about immigrants to the Netherlands, and I was like, hey, I'm one of those. Things are a little different now, and I got to realize things are different, but I've got a lot more history of one thing happening, and I need to figure out how to prove it wrong. Camera almost fell through the wind. So basically, I just need to spend the time and get the proof that it's different. Get the proof that It's not like it was in the past 2014 to summer 2018, so 4 years, 5-ish seasons. But it's not the same. But I promise I'll be back, and like I said, it's tough to get rid of me. It's one of the more annoying things about me. It's a blessing and a curse about how persistent I am.